You're listening to Cross Rhythms Plymouth, 96.3 FM on DAB in Plymouth and online. And this is Lifelines, and I've got the pleasure and privilege of being joined in the studio by someone who's Southwest based, had to travel a little bit to get here, for which I'm very grateful. It's Vanessa Lawrence. Thanks for being here, Vanessa.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me from Porthtown.
Yeah, a little bit of a drive today, but really grateful that you've done so. It's always nice to chat to someone face to face here in the studio. So this is Lifelines, and as such, we'll chat about your life and your faith and what that means to you. I know you've written a book about your life as well, which we'll come to later on. Not everyone does that, so that's quite cool to point out. But tell us a little bit about your early years of life. Where were you born? What did life look like for you as a child? Tell us about some of those things.
Okay, so I was born in Nigeria, West Africa, number 5 of 6 children. So I've got 4 sisters and a brother. Was living out in Africa in Ghana when my mother died when I was 5 years old. Mm-hmm. Came back to the UK and was raised by my grandmother for a bit, and then lived in Essex in the southeast of England. And when I was about 30, I invited Jesus into my life, having not really followed him at all. I mean, my mother was a Catholic, and she used to drag us off to church when we were little. And then my dad used to force me to go to church on my own when I was 8. But I invited Jesus into my life when I was 30.
Yeah. Amazing. And I know from other conversations, other members of your family were key in that. Your sister played quite a big role, didn't she?
Yes.
Tell us a bit about her. The role she played in you coming to faith. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So until she witnessed to me, but until she did, I was living quite a very independent life. Success was important to me, having a career, but I was driven to do all that stuff, and I didn't think I needed faith at all, even though I'd prayed as a child. And so when my sister used to evangelize, which she did to all of us, I would hold the phone out to my ear until I thought she'd finished speaking, and then I'd put the phone back. Wow. But then when she would come and visit the UK, she'd come once a year from the Far East where she was living, I could see a change. Yeah. And I thought, I want that.
That's really cool. I mean, I have to pick up first of all on the holding the phone away from the ear bit. So like what, you said that your mum was a Catholic. You grew up, as lots of us do, connected to faith in some way, whether it's through our parents or just culturally, maybe where we live. But obviously it didn't really, not only did it not mean something to you, you kind of put off by it to the point of holding the phone away. What was it that made you kind of that, or put you off so much to really not connect with your sister on that conversation at all at that point?
I can look back and I understand now that I had this coping mechanism, and that because I'd had the loss of my mother had really impacted me, but I didn't realise, because what happened was I kicked in to being self-sufficient, surviving, so successful that I didn't think you needed God. And those who did I thought they were a bit needy and pathetic, but I also thought God was a distant figure up in the sky going to judge me. So when my sister told me that Jesus was alive, I was cross that nobody had told me that I could have a relationship. All my years at church, no one had ever told me.
Wow. So later on, as you engaged with it a bit more, you came to realise this is way different than anything I perceived it to be.
Totally different. And selfishly, because I was struggling by then, I wasn't being satisfied by working and earning and partying and all that stuff. I was really searching for something. And that was God drawing me in. Yeah.
I love that. I love how, it kind of goes from one extreme to another. You're not the first person to have told me something similar, whereby someone close to them finds faith and initially they're kind of repulsed by it to some extent. And as you say, so I imagine from what you're saying there, you kind of, you're sort of receiving it as like judgment. You're thinking God's just going to judge you, he's distant, all that kind of stuff. So it's quite a negative thing, your perception of what she's saying to you. And also, you don't need it. This is wasting my time. This is just taking a lot of emotional capacity. It's not something I need right now. Really pushing it away. But at the same time, as you say, really interesting that you are also thinking there must be more to life.
Totally.
But at the same time, describe what was your life like? Was it you had a job? Obviously, you were saying you had quite a good career, so it wasn't like you weren't exploring for more from a place of real lack in terms of money, in terms of provision, in terms
Not
of that
on
kind
that
of stuff.
side. And on the spiritual side, as kids, because of our mother's death, we were always dabbling in things. I think we were trying to find her in the spiritual side. So we would do Ouija boarding,
Right.
Levitate, all this stuff. I think we were trying to find how we could connect with her. And also my grandmother was a spiritual healer. I mean, she's not Christian.
Sure.
She would have people come to the house and they would call up the dead.
Wow.
So I had this kind of inner hunger.
So it was a hunger for more, but also a real hunger to like connect with your mum, essentially.
And connect with my mum, yeah. So, once I realised Jesus was alive and real and I could have a relationship with him, it just made sense. So on my own at night, I was breastfeeding my daughter and I just invited him into my heart, and this peace that came was just unbelievable.
Amazing.
And I thought, wow, why did no one tell me before?
There you go. You're listening to Lifelines here on Cross Rhythms Plymouth. Really interesting conversation so far with Vanessa Lawrence, who's come all the way from West Cornwall, Porthtown area, which is a joy to have you here in the studio. And there's a lot we can talk about. There always is with Lifelines. But you talked about how in that first section, essentially born in Africa, one of 6 kids.
Yeah.
Faith not really a role in your family, apart from the fact your mum was a Catholic and your dad forced you to go to church. So not necessarily overly positive in terms of your own freedom in that. But then your sister really genuinely found faith later on and wanted to share that. And you described how for years of really kind of pushing that away, you saw something in her. Can you talk about that? Where were you at that point? And also what was it you felt you saw in her that was attractive, that was drawing you to actually go, do you know what? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it was. She used to come home every year and she was really she used to row with my dad a lot. She was very, very sensitive. And I found that when she came every year, she was really calm and her character was changing.
Wow.
And I could see there was a peace in her.
Yeah.
That's what I thought was so transformative. I thought there must be something to what she's saying.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's so powerful because you're not the first person I've interviewed who's had that, whereby it's the experience and just the general walk and life of someone they know really well that speaks as loud, if not louder, than what they say. And I think you're so perfect to be the one to judge that because you're a sister. You've seen her for years. You know what she's like. So a change in her life, you'll know.
Yes.
Like she's not going to be able to cover that up, or she's not going to be able to like pretend with you, because you're really going to know what she's like, and so that change is really tangible for you to see. So then so talk us through those next steps then. So how did you come to decide to follow Jesus for yourself? What did you say to her? Like, how did that happen? Well,
she went back to Malaysia and I said to her, I've invited Jesus into my life. And so she advised me to go to church. God led me. I mean, he took me to the local parish church to start with, but it just wasn't feeding me, let's say. But I could meet God everywhere. Yeah. I was so hungry suddenly. It was like a well had opened up.
So what happened in terms of, did you just pray a prayer just yourself? Like,
yes, all by
happened?
Myself.
Okay.
I just invited him into my heart and I knew something happened. I remember going to Sainsbury's the next morning, so I shouldn't be plugging supermarket.
That's right.
But feeling this joy and seeing things like through a different lens. I was wondering why everything was in colour practically, if you could put it that way.
Sure.
And I couldn't understand why people were miserable.
Yeah.
Because something had happened in me. And I was just so hungry. I remember going to see the local vicar. The other thing that happened was I hadn't cried for years and years and years because I'd been so closed down.
Sure.
I would go and see the vicar or his wife and I would cry.
Yeah. And
I would try and say to him, I'm not a crier. But he couldn't cope with me.
Okay.
He didn't know what to do with this person.
Yeah, sure. I suppose, he just met you. You're saying I'm not a crier, and all you're doing is crying. So he's not really sure how to work that one through. That's I love that. I love how there's just an opening up of your emotions, of who you are, sense of peace, sense of joy. We'll come into all of that as we navigate this interview. But you talked about off air an amazing story in those early stages of that faith being confirmed, you doubting it very quickly and then it being confirmed. Talk to us about that, because obviously you're there by yourself, inviting Jesus, presumably based on some of the knowledge you'd got from your sister. Is that what?
That's right. She was staying at my house for a couple of days.
Okay.
So, I had this peace the next day, but I said to her, is this real? Has this definitely happened? And she said, well, just ask God. So I was on my own, sitting on the sofa, doing up my shoes, and I just went, if there is a God, show me now. And before I could finish the sentence, there was a knock on the door, and we lived down a very long country lane out of a village.
Yeah.
And this woman was at the door, and she went, oh, I'm praying for your street today, and I've come to pray for you. Is there anything I can pray for you? And I was so shocked. I went, no thanks, and slammed the door in her face. I feel so bad to this day.
That's just such a wonderful story. The timing is just so perfect. And, you say you feel bad. That woman's never going to know the impact, but it's an amazing impact. What an amazing thing for her to be so perfectly timed. Yeah. Maybe she's listening to this. You never know.
You never know.
But I just think that's amazing. So for you, then, that presumably made you think, okay, this really is real. Because there's no way that can be scripted.
Exactly.
That's quite something. So it gave you a sense of confirmation. All right, well, I tell you what, let's stop for some more music now. Pick up the conversation with you, Vanessa, after this. Kind of how things developed for you, how you grew in faith, some of the challenges as well, and things like that. We'll talk more after this. You're listening to Lifelines here on Cross Rhythms Plymouth. You join me mid-conversation with Vanessa Lawrence. We've talked about various things as we've kind of gone through. So if you've missed those early sections, you can check it out on our YouTube channel, on our website. We'll have it up there as well. So search Cross Rhythms Plymouth on YouTube and you'll find it there. But Vanessa, let's go kind of jump back again. You have written a book. It's called I Was Born in Africa. You were born in Africa. You told us that. Was that just to do with family business? Was it work related stuff? Why were your family there, and kind of how did you end up moving back to Britain and all that kind of stuff? Okay, so
my father was originally in the army.
Right.
Which took him to the Far East. So he met my mother in the Far East. So my mother was Portuguese, but she was raised in Macau, which is a Portuguese colony next to Hong Kong. So my parents met in Hong Kong, got married, and then after having 3 children, my father decided it was best to leave the army to raise the family. So he got a job as the managing director of Nigerian Breweries Limited.
Wow. Hence Nigeria.
And then he also had that job in Ghana. Yeah. So I was born in Nigeria.
So how long did you spend in West Africa then?
7 years only, but my dad was out there about 13. Yeah. And my siblings, the 3 older ones were in the UK in boarding school. And then my brother and I and my little sister were in Ghana when my mother died. To this day, we never went to the funeral. And my dad never fully told us what happened. So we still discuss how she died. But I think
from a place of not knowing, or you now know?
Well, we still don't know 100%. And my dad's gone now. Sure. But they went to a party. Yeah. I actually put this in my book. And my mum didn't drink. Because it's like, I feel like I need to say that. I don't know why. Because she was internally sick. And choked on it. And I remember crying as a child and then thinking, oh, I better carry on crying now, because my brother was still crying. So right at the beginning, I shut out the impact. And it wasn't until about 3 years ago, when I wrote my book, 'cause God told me to write the book, that all this mother stuff came out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, without kind of divulging it too much, because obviously you've written about it and it's deeply personal. Like, that's such a huge thing for anyone to go through. It's big whenever your parents die, whatever age they are. Even in the natural course of things, if you're older and you lose your parents, it's still really sad. Of course. But my daughter's 5, nearly 6, so to have a 5-year-old lose their mum is massive. But it's massive, and you just don't know it's massive because it's just your life, right? It's just, this is what's happened to you. You've just got to crack on. No different. I mean, it's massive in the sense that it's devastating, but it's just happened, right? So what do? You're faced with just, how do I process it? You can't process it as a 5-year-old, can't process it as a child. So I imagine the natural thing for you, as you've described, was just, well, I'm going to have to move forward here. I'm going to have to keep living, essentially.
That's right. And loads of people have absent parents. They don't have to have lost a parent. And you go through your childhood, because you don't have it, you don't realise you're missing it.
That's it.
But I've discovered that the nurture is so key to our whole lives. And if we don't get it, we are so dysfunctional. And it didn't kick in really with me until in my 50s. And all the kids had left home.
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? Because, we can't live like a different version of our childhood. Essentially, like, we have our childhood. It is what it is. Those formative years are what they are. Psychologists and academics are saying increasingly, have been over the last 100 years or so, that like your formative years are really, really key for the rest of your life and development, as you say, nurture, all of those things. But you don't get an A/B test of your childhood. You don't get this is how it works out. If this happens, this is how it works out. If this happens, stuff just happens and you move forward. And then you just have to deal with it as you move forward. So it is really interesting, as you're saying, that you found out later in life, because it's presumably, as you start to look back, you're like, wow, I can really understand why this was my coping mechanism, why I feel like this in these circumstances, all those kinds of things. Would that be fair to say for you?
That's exactly what happened, because the kids left home. They went all up country, as we say, from down here, don't they? And I'm thinking, great, husband's going to retire. Perhaps I could do a bit of hobbies here and there. And it was like, oh no, actually, I don't want to do that. And I was at the same time thinking, why am I still getting really depressed? Why do I think people don't like me? Why am I still striving? And all this stuff. And I'm thinking, I've been a Christian for a very long time. What is going on? And then, long story short, but God said, I want you to write a book. And then all I had was this title, I Was Born in Africa. And so I got a book coach, and that's another amazing story. But she said that as I started to process it with her, this is all about you losing your mother.
Wow.
And so it was cathartic writing the book, but at the same time, in this accelerated year, which I've never had a year like it since or before, God told me to do a heart healing course. So I trained as a prophetic heart healer, but I also had to receive a lot of heart healing myself. Yeah. And through that, I discovered the real importance of mother nurture.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, it's amazing to hear how God interacted with you in a way that was really profound for you at the perfect time, because that's part of it as well, isn't it? People might say, well, why didn't God deal with it years before? Part of it we just don't know, but his timing is so amazing, as you said with that time when that lady knocked on your door just as you were questioning God. But this as well, his timing for you in terms of those kind of formative years being restored much later. I'm sure there's so many things that are like the perfect timing in that, and it's really deep how he's spoken it to you, almost like how you sort of got yourself to the answers through writing your book. It's almost like he was speaking to you through you writing your own book. So he's ministering to you through your own words and through your own experience. It's really beautiful to hear. So we're going to talk more about that, about the book and various other bits with Vanessa after this. You're listening to Lifelines here on Cross Rhythms Plymouth. Real pleasure to be speaking to Vanessa Lawrence, who's here in the studio, talking about your life. So if you could hold up to the camera just quickly. You've written a book, which we talked about in that last section, called I Was Born in Africa. You very kindly and generously said off air, well, not off air, I think earlier on in the interview, you're not here to plug this, that's not what this is about. But if people are interested, where can they get it? Well, how can they find that book?
It's I self-published on Amazon.
Okay.
So they can go to that, and then they can also, I don't want to
No, go for it.
Myself,
people need to know if they want to have it. So.
I have a website for my heart healing.
Sure.
And it's called heart2heart.world. Okay. And there's a resources page on there.
Cool. But the name of the book, again, is
I Was Born in Africa. And then the subtitle, A Journey from Motherlessness and Broken Identity into Healing and Wholeness.
Amazing. So search for that on Amazon.
Yes.
You'll find it by Vanessa Lawrence and you'll be able to pick it up. So let's kind of go back a little bit again then. So you'd become a Christian, and you said earlier in the interview you sort of were really like hungry, like a lot of people are when they find faith. You'd had some doubts, you'd had some moments of questioning it, but then God had really confirmed it in some amazing ways. But you were thinking like, who do I connect with? You connected to the vicar. The relationship hadn't really developed in terms of like any sort of connection with him and his wife and that. So where did you go? Who did you meet with? How did things develop for you in your Christian walk?
Yeah. So through that lovely vicar, I met an old couple, and this elderly lady, she literally discipled me. It was just amazing, actually. If I look back, I'm so grateful.
Yeah.
And so with her, I did an Alpha course. And then I was going to be visiting my sister in Malaysia when they were going to do the Holy Spirit weekend.
Okay.
So I went, but God,
so that's for anyone who doesn't know, that's like a part of the course, isn't it? So, no, that's right.
Yes.
So that's just a part of the course that they do over a number of weeks.
Yes. And it's sort of towards the end where you can have an experience of inviting the Holy Spirit. But I was going to be in Malaysia. God baptized me in the Holy Spirit in Malaysia. I was in the shower because my husband had arrived and he wasn't saved. And this woman had rung my sister, who I'd just been at this church meeting with, and said, I need to speak to Vanessa because she's just got baptized in the Spirit, but she doesn't speak in tongues.
Okay.
So I'm in the shower, it's not on, with this woman on the phone, and she's going to me, you have to now speak in tongues.
Okay, right.
And so that was my experience of learning to speak in tongues. I mean, wow. God's had me into the most weird places and amazing places.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waffling now, I think. But...
No, not at all. So kind of amazing, very like everyone's story is totally their own, and the way that God interacts with them is totally their own. I love how yours is like quite unconventional in the sense of like, you're not just, people do Alpha courses and it's brilliant, and it's not saying there's any issue with that, but for some people, they go to a church, they go to an Alpha course, they've obviously got their own stuff going on, but they'll track that process and that helps them come to faith. I love even that you started that process and that wasn't quite the way it would normally transpire. But let's talk about that then, because there'll be people listening to this who wonder what on earth you mean by what you just said. Like encountering God through the Holy Spirit. Like what did that mean to you? What does that mean to you now? In simple terms, if I'm looking at you and I'm not a Christian, how would you describe that?
When I invited Jesus into my life, he literally came into me. I could feel his presence in me. Mm-hmm. And then just as he promised when he left the disciples, he said, I will leave you my spirit. I know you know this, obviously. And so the Spirit of Jesus comes and dwells in us. Uh-huh. And the Holy Spirit weekend, if you like, was the baptism of the Spirit, where it kind of brings to life the power of the Spirit in you. So then he becomes so much more. He comforts, he counsels, he guides. Mm-hmm.
So that, I love that. That obviously, as you say, I kind of have experience of that, but for the listeners who don't, I love how you've described it there, and how you described it earlier in the interview, that when you welcome Jesus into your life, he came into your life, but you described that earlier that you felt real peace. Yes. And you described that earlier as you felt real joy. So it felt, and as your experience, it was something. It wasn't just like sort of ethereal. It was like actually profoundly, I feel peaceful. I feel more joyful. Yeah. You were more in touch with your emotions. There was something really real going on, just in the same way as you described it for your sister, that you'd perceived that in her, and now you were starting to experience it as well. So I suppose this is like taking that a step further, essentially, in really simple terms. Yes,
exactly. And so it's not about a blind faith or just a head knowledge.
Yeah.
It's an experiential. That's why I love doing the heart sessions with people, because I'm connecting them with Jesus and helping them to learn to perceive his presence. because you might not realize actually he is talking to me, he is with me. But then when you learn to look for the peace or recognize what's going on, I just love it. So I got baptized there, but then I started going to a really good church in England as well. Spirit filled, if you like, teaching.
Yeah, beautiful. Love that. Let's stop for some more music and pick up the conversation with Vanessa right after this. You're listening to Lifelines here on Cross Rhythms Plymouth, and I'm in conversation with Vanessa Lawrence. Vanessa, one of the things you said when you came to faith was, I love the honesty of this, and I love how like real and tangible this is. Like you needed proof that this was real, that you encountering Jesus. You said you felt peace. You said you felt joy. You said you felt a sense of something happening within you.
Yeah,
receiving Jesus into your life. But it's something like you said earlier on, it's not blind faith. I love how for you, it wasn't just about that. And I think sometimes people can assume, Christians, they're just like a bit daft or a bit naive or something like that. When actually for you, you were really like questioning at the same time as having these experiences.
Yeah.
So you said earlier on, you prayed, God, if this is real, show me before, well, with expletives in there, and just being real, that you needed proof. The moment you do that, someone knocks on your door from the church saying, I'm here to pray for you. That's unbelievable. Confirms it. I think there's something really deep and really great, actually, in the fact that you needed more proof.
Yes.
So, like, you actually needed more than that because I think this is so important because it's tangible, it's real. Like, we all have doubts. We all can go, was that just like, did I eat some cheese and that made me, did I not sleep well the night before? Am I just emotional?
Yes.
All of these things, especially when it comes to experiencing something different. So talk to me about that next time you needed more proof. What was going on through your mind and how did that develop?
I can't remember why I asked, but I obviously did need more proof. But as you say, God is so amazing how he meets us. So my husband loves music, and in those days, I know they've come back in because my kid's buying albums, but he had a whole wall of albums. Yeah. So you couldn't see what they
vinyl
were. Vinyl.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yes, vinyl.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. And I just went, okay, God, can you just prove again? Sorry to test you again. And I just literally put my hand in and pulled an album out. And my husband wasn't a Christian, so there wouldn't have been anything Christian in there. And it was Belinda Carlisle, Heaven is a Place on Earth. And it was like, okay, thank you, Lord.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I do think that's really special and I think really beautiful. And I think also for people listening to this, they might be in exactly that same place where they've had some sort of experience. Either it was like recently, today, last week, years ago, wherever it was, but for some reason they've doubted. I just think we can, if we hold on to doubt and don't ask, it becomes like problematic for us. Yeah. But if you're just upfront with it and just like, oh, show me, are you real? Or like you're really inquiring of that, I think God meets you. And I think that's a really important thing, how you shared that happen for you. So talk us through, like, you come to faith, like, what was your expectations of what life would look? Did you have any expectations of what faith would look like as you came through? Were you thinking, oh great, it's going to be rosy from now on? Like, or did you just go, oh, I'm just going to keep living and see what happens?
Well, this hunger grew in me for experience. And I know it's not all about how you feel, and I've had seasons where God seemed to be so absent, and I know we all do that. Sure. But I had this hunger for experience once he started doing that with me, feeling the peace, knowing that he's there. And so he led me to a really amazing spirit-filled church. Mm-hmm. And I just absolutely loved going there. I got really well fed. And the problem was I used to go to church, have these amazing experiences of the presence of God, but then I would go home and I'm just living this normal life. Mm-hmm. And I remember crying out to God, it's a few years down the road, going, I'm two people. This is not healthy. Mm-hmm. I've got this spirit-filled Christian life, but then I go home and I'm reacting to things. I'm just living life as normal. How do I bring the two together? Mm-hmm. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that.
Yeah, I'm sure we can. I definitely can.
God's answer was not what I expected. He stripped the spirit-filled stuff away.
Okay. Wow. There you go. Yeah.
Over
that wasn't
time.
what I was expecting you to say.
Wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So I ended up much later not in church anymore.
Okay.
Completely out of church.
Yeah.
And began to learn to live a life at home, because the ones who we need to love the most and to not react to them are our families. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And if behind closed doors we're not living a faith life.
Yeah. Well, then I suppose then at that point it can all be for show, and it can kind of all, well, not all for show, but like sort of there's some level of superficiality to that, isn't there, to some extent, if it's not really changing us day to day.
That's right.
In the ways that we live. And also, I don't know if you said it yet in the interview, but your husband at that point didn't have any faith, right?
No.
So there's a challenge in that, I suppose, that you're going home to somewhere where you don't share the same faith with your husband.
I found it very hard because they didn't understand what who I was and what I was doing. But as we said earlier, people change by not what you say. And I know I put my kids off through the things I've said over the years as a Christian, but they're drawn by what they see in how you are in character. I've still got a long way to go. My husband will say that
Well, I think we all do. So that's really cool. I love that. And I love how that you were drawn to the experience of the stuff that you felt. And it's almost like God, as he matured
He's
you,
so kind. Yeah.
was saying yes, and let's make sure that looks like something to the people around you, and it's not just you experiencing something.
Exactly.
Because I think sometimes it can be kind of, without us meaning to, those experiences can be quite self-centered. It's more about how we feel rather than how I'm actually behaving around the people that I'm most closest to, as you've said. Let's stop for some music. We've run out of time on this section. We've nearly run out of time on the interview. I feel like we could talk for so much longer.
Thank you.
But let's talk a little bit more about the recent years and where God's taken you more recently, right after this. You're listening to Lifelines here on Cross Rhythms Plymouth. You're going to have to go back and listen again to pick up most of this conversation, because we're at the end of our interview with Vanessa Lawrence. So we've alluded to it. We've talked about it a little bit. You've written a book called I Was Born in Africa. You haven't you never set out to write a book by the sounds of it.
No.
What was it? Talk us through that process. How did that come about for you, of actually documenting your life? It's certainly not something everyone does, but it's a really interesting process.
I said in the early bit of the interview that God stripped me back.
Yeah.
So I was at a place before lockdown where I was practically in my own lockdown already, because I was no longer in church. I had a bad church experience, which I was no longer in the ministry I was involved in. My children had all left home. I'm wondering, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
I had no idea. And I was led by God, must have been, to this online entrepreneurial organisation in the States. And through that, I met, God spoke to me and said, through this man who was leading it, I want you to write a book. I hadn't thought, it wasn't in my agenda at all.
Right.
Someone else confirmed it.
Yeah.
And then through this entrepreneur online thing, I could speak for hours. I met a book coach who guided me. Yeah, sorry.
No.
I've got all these thoughts
I
coming
love it.
in.
It's beautiful, because you did say that you had a book coach earlier on, and that firstly, credit to you for doing that, because I'm sure lots of people have sort of similar prompts but don't act on it. You've acted on it to the point of actually doing something. But talk to me about the process of getting it done. You talked earlier about the book coach saying, actually, this is the story about you needing to find your mum.
Yes.
Which is quite profound for them to say that. But talk to me about the process of actually getting it down. Was it really difficult? Was it painful? Was it easy? Did it come quickly? How did it come about?
So I just want to say as well, I've always said yes to God whenever he's spoken. And even if other people haven't understood, I have just said yes and then trusted. Anyway, so when he said that, because I knew he had told me to do it, it was a lot easier than if he hadn't, and I'm trying to create it.
Yeah.
And so every day I walk on the cliffs with my dog. And then I would just get downloads and ideas for the book. And it would be like, oh no, because at that point I didn't realise I could speak into my phone.
Okay.
Being a bit untechy. I've learned a lot of tech.
Yeah.
Since doing this.
A lot of shortcuts.
So I would rush home and splurge it all out. And then my book coach was an amazing Christian lady who literally helps you get from pain to purpose. Take your story and turn it into something. So she walked me through the whole process of self-publishing the book. God brought in the person to do the audio of it, which is amazing because all these Americans started going, oh, we want to hear your voice. And I'm going, oh, okay, because they love the English voice.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, God just helped me. But also there's a lot in there to help people to find their identity and who they are, not based on all the striving.
Sure.
I had all that in me from the last 20 years as a Christian. God had already given me all that. So it just all came out in the book.
Yeah. But I think from what you've said as well, like though that year particularly, a real deepening, a real sort of sense of you more profoundly finding who you are in God and him. Because what I think is really beautiful is like you had an experience of finding Jesus finding you, saying yes to him, following him. And years before that, you'd had a horrible experience of losing your mum at 5.
Yeah.
And years after that experience of finding Jesus, he's going back to say, and I can help you in that. I can heal you in that. I can really restore that, which I think is beautiful because it shows the depth of how much he cares for us, the depth of how much he knows about us and wants to bring restoration and full life. And it isn't just a kind of like, oh, great, I'm going to go to heaven when I die type thing. It's not just that. It's like he's with us and wants to restore things. So that's kind of your story. And that's where you are at now, isn't it? To some extent, would you say, in terms of you're helping other people on that process?
Yes. And I'm just amazed, as you say, at what he does, because you don't even realize you need the healing. And he is not in a hurry, as we found out from my story. And yeah, literally life begins at 60 because it's a joy for me, makes me emotional to help, especially other women.
Yeah. No, I really, really hear that. I hear that in the way you're saying it, not just now, but like throughout.
Yeah.
That's your passion for where you're
at.
And it, because I suppose it's easy to, or it's potentially easy, isn't it, to have those experiences with God, find faith, and like sort of pretend everything's fine, because you hear theoretically through the Bible or through other people's lives, this is what a Christian life should look like, and it sometimes can be easy to like pretend as if that's the case for you, or to be like, well, it should be like this, and not actually deal with the reasons why it's not or why you struggle. And actually for you, it's a real beautiful sense of the holistic change that he really wants to bring, as you just are open and willing to say, yeah, do you know what? That really sucked. Like when that happened to me when I was a kid, and it's really painful and this really hurts and I need your help in all this. Yeah.
But also you hit the nail on the head with the pretending, because I wasn't living an authentic life. So when I had the spirit church life and the home life, I wasn't being authentic. When I was coping and trying to fit, I was never being authentic. And so that's been a really important key word for me.
Yeah.
To live out of authenticity.
Yeah. I love that. Well, Vanessa, sadly, we've run out of time. We could talk for a lot longer.
Thank you so much.
It's been a real joy to speak to you. Your website, again, you mentioned Heart to Heart. Tell us what the website was.
Yes, it's heart2to.world.
Amazing. So you can find out more about Vanessa, her book, and some of the stuff she's involved in on there as well. Wish you all the best. Thanks, Vanessa.